Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Business Plus. I'm Shweta Kothari. We're bringing you stories from the world of business policy and economy. First up, let's begin with headlines. Apple aims to build more than 50 million iPhones annually in India, sets higher record for Make in India targets, touches 60,000 crore of its target volume in the first 7 months of 22-24, which is financial year 24. And RBI cautions public not to fall prey to advertisements on loan waivers, warns misleading ads are enticing borrowers by offering debt waiver certificates. Hiring at IITs declined 15 to 30% in the final months of 2023 compared to previous years. Final placement sees limited response from India Inc. on the back of slower tech demand. And from Audi to BMW, Maruti to Tata Motors, come 2024, passenger vehicles will be more costly in the coming year. Chandrayaan 3, G20, Kiara Advani and Jawan the movie. What do all these have in common? Well, these are the top searches of Google in 2023. You're watching Business Plus with me, Shweta Kothari. With me in the studio is Krishna Kumar for a change. Krishna, very good morning. The top story that we're tracking here comes by the way of India's Make in India strides. And Apple, for that matter, is taking a larger pie, a larger share, for that matter, of that pie, has touched nearly 80 to 90% of its target volume for financial year 24, is now looking at a bigger target for Make in India in the upcoming year.
Let's face it, it's already said that it's going to make a quarter of the world's iPhones out of India. That is a plan that Apple has, and we've seen Apple build up its India presence significantly, especially over the course of the last 1 year, willing to go through all that needs to be met with to get the PLI incentives. So you're talking about the PLI incentives. Let's quickly get the numbers out there as far as PLI incentives are concerned. Apple has assembled iPhones with a freight on board value, which is called, the value of the freight that is exported from India. It sounds so archaic. The freight in this case, we talk about iPhones and all these cool gadgets that Apple makes. The value is more than 60,000 crore rupees just for the first 7 months of financial year 23-24. And guess what the target is? The target is 74,000 crore rupees. So which means
80 to 90% of its target volume.
81% to be precise. So as far as the PLI schemes are concerned, the point here is that global majors are able to take to India's PLI schemes, wanting to invest. Even in the semiconductor category, you had the likes of Micron and Applied Materials and others wanting to come and invest in India, wanting to follow the procedures and the rules laid out to get the PLI schemes here over here. And so Apple is a forerunner in that sense. It's been actively engaging with the Indian government, actively wanting to expand its presence, be it the number of Apple stores in the country, which it's gone from 0 to 3 now, or in terms of making it here. The question here is that how much of what it assembles here can be converted into what it can be made over here. Because bear in mind, Apple has always been beginning its India presence, its India manufacturing presence by assembling iPhones over here. So the more and more it makes components out of India, the more and more it's able to actually manufacture out of India. That's what we need to look at. And of course, as far as local sourcing norms are concerned and other things are concerned, they are meeting up with what the government needs them to meet up with. So hence they're able to go full steam ahead. Absolutely. As far as their Make in India ambitions are concerned.
Make in India ambitions playing in full force for Apple. But come to think of it, it's also a success of the PLI scheme for that matter, because Apple is one of the foreign players who has been able to fully utilize India's PLI schemes and its capabilities to deliver manufacturing to the world coming in from India. And also, bumping up in its process the overall exports of electronics out of India.
Yeah, clearly. Apple has a very clear game plan of what it wants to do over here. Clearly, a lot of it has to do with wanting to move out of China, move things out of China. If you want to move things out of China, you've got to start something elsewhere. And it's it has begun all its work as far as making out of India in all earnesty. So it is you can call it a gradual shift, but if you ask me, the shift is happening quite fast as far as Apple is concerned. As you're rightly pointing out, it's able to meet the requirements that the Indian governments had laid out, and that in a sense is very good boost for India, boost for global manufacturers of all kinds. Absolutely. To come to India, and Apple in a sense is setting the example. Look, these rules by the Indian government for local sourcing, they're not a deterrent to make in India. They are not a deterrent, they're not a problem. All you have to do is be careful about how you set up your business over here, how you set up your manufacturing over here, and it is extremely possible, and also possible to beat the targets. If you had 74,000 for the entire financial year, you can do 60,000 of it with just half, a little over half of the financial year done. So in a sense, Apple's progress in India sends out a great message for global manufacturers to not have any worries about coming to India, and let's hope that this entices more and more global manufacturers to move out of China and come to India.
Absolutely. And while electronics is a success story as far as Make in India and the PLI schemes is concerned, what is not a success story is semiconductor. Yes. Just as yet, because India is hoping to roll out its own semiconductor. A fab is already in place. Perhaps out of that fab will come India's first semiconductor by end of next year, middle of next year. That's the target set up by the government. But PLI has not done or not given similar sort of results when it comes to semiconductors, when it comes to IT hardware, to ensure which government had to put in place an import ban. That ban was mulled, then later taken away. But PLI for electronics has to move beyond electronics at some point.
Right, true. Let's demystify why is it not happening. How is it possible that so quickly we've become this electronics manufacturing hub, but we're not able to do semiconductors? The thing about the peculiar case, or the curious case of semiconductors, is that a handful of countries actually know how to make semiconductors in the world. You can make phones and electronics across many parts of the world. There is expertise and chains available for it. But as far as semiconductors are concerned, the know-how, the knowledge and the know-how of how to make semiconductors is with a very small bunch of people. Taiwan, Korea, parts of China. So for another country like India, which has ambitions to become a global semiconductor hub, it's not going to happen overnight. Absolutely. It's going to take its time, and in that sense, India is still dealing with the early birthing stages, the birthing pains of being a semiconductor maker. And from whatever I've spoken to across semiconductor makers across the country who've been in existence for the last decade and a half, but suddenly they're thrust into the spotlight now because of India's stated semiconductor mission, which was launched in 2020. They say that it will take anywhere between 5 to 10 years for India to become a proper semiconductor manufacturing hub. So that's the kind of time you need to give, Shweta, at least from what I've heard from the India semiconductor players.
We'll need some more time before India is able to emulate the same success it has in electronics in the semiconductor space as well. But shifting focus to another story that we're tracking, coming in by the way of an RBI caution on ads that say that they will waive your loans by giving you a loan waiver certificate, while you may not have to pay back to the authority, the lending authority that you've taken loan from. Now, RBI has cautioned public that this is a short way to lose money. Not save money, but in fact to lose money. Now, what is the caution about? Krishna, very interesting to point out. The caution is about ads that claim that they can waive off your loan by giving you a loan waiver certificate. Now, this loan waiver certificate ensures that you can show it to the people around you, other lending authorities, to say that, okay, I've paid back my loan, without actually having to pay back that loan. This is a dangerous phenomenon.
It is, and that's exactly why you have the Reserve Bank of India cautioning not to fall prey, telling the public of not falling prey to loan waivers. The best way of dealing with loans is always paying back the loans in the right. That doesn't change, does it? Aaj nakad kal udhar. That's the traditional way of thinking. So when it's credit, it's always about paying back that credit, from more credit card bills to personal loans to home loans to car loans, all of them. It is, if you ask me, it is the same way you talk about misleading advertisements of other kind.
Absolutely.
So when misleading advertisements, claim that they can do something that doesn't exist, then it's the job of the regulator to tell people that, do not fall prey to these advertisements. And my question here at the stage is, Shweta, how are these advertisements going out? RBI is cautioning people, telling that, you should not fall prey to such advertisements. How about controlling these advertisements from even coming out? I mean,
absolutely.
In that sense, there has to be, the checks and balances have to be before telling the audience, telling the public to not fall prey to it. There has to be some mechanism to control these misleading advertisements.
Absolutely. But here's what we know so far. What is the modus operandi of these companies? They essentially tell you that we are going to give you a loan waiver certificate. This loan waiver certificate can then be shown to various entities from which you are either hoping to borrow or you're hoping to inform them that you have repaid your existing loans without actually having to repay. They will charge a legal fee / service fee for giving you that certificate. That certificate, however, does not mean that you have paid back your loan. And RBI, the banking regulator, cautioning there that you must first pay back before you get such a certificate, and do not rely on these certificates from a third party, as opposed to go to the lending institution that you have taken loan from, and after you pay back your loan, you will finally get a loan waiver certificate or a loan certificate that says that you have paid back whatever tranches of loan that you have so far acquired. So that is as far as loan certificates and the story around RBI's caution is concerned. But it's now time for a short, quick break. We'll be back in just a bit.
Currently, the industry is facing a lot of challenges as far as demand is concerned. Basically, that US markets has slowed down because of high inflation.
So obviously, diamonds being a dream product, something which doesn't have a utility value or is seen as a luxury. So that obviously goes off your shopping list. That's the first item that will go off your shopping list, especially in recessionary trends.
That lab-grown diamonds are not mined, and they do away with the entire mining. So they save up on all the environmental damage that is associated with mining, and of course, the mining cost, which is why they're even more affordable.
People that is impacted by all these recessions are the artisans, are the people who work in this industry, right? But I think lab-grown diamond has allowed them to actually use their skills in the same product.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9+. Download now.
He thought he could outlast us. And 1 year later, the evidence is right here in this room.
Who will blink first?
So far from preventing the expansion of NATO, Russian actions have actually resulted in the expansion of NATO.
It's a mess for Russia and it's a mess for the Western world, for NATO and the United States.
Putin is a dictator, and if he loses, that means the end of his regime, and probably of him personally. So he has to keep going.
Year 2, no end in sight. Streaming now.
Bangalore traffic is an example of something that has gone wrong with our system.
We have more than 50 flyovers in Bangalore city. If flyover is a solution to traffic problem, Bangalore should not have traffic problem.
According to TomTom Traffic Index 2022, Bangalore is ranked as the second worst city in the world when it comes to traffic.
The speed limit at the ORR is 80 kilometers per hour, but our vehicle has only moved 10 kilometers per hour.
What Bangalore needs is a surgery, but what we have been offered repeatedly are band-aids.
Only on the world's first news OTT. News 9+, ahead of the curve.
Welcome back. Hiring at IITs have declined about 15 to 30% in the final months of 2023, which is December of 2023 compared to any other previous years. Now, final placements have seen, in fact, a very limited response. This, according to students who have appeared for these placements, haven't gotten jobs just as yet. Krishna Kumar continues to be with me in the studio. Krishna, it is an interesting trend because it points to a decline in hiring, a freeze in hiring, which is being continuously seen now. And these are some of the top IITs, which essentially means they account for some of the most brainy, educated, erudite people in this country. People who are in IITs, essentially people who are the creamy of the top lot. They are saying they are not getting jobs, compared to the jobs some of their seniors got in the previous years. This is a reflection of an overall freeze in the IT hiring trends. We've seen IT headcounts going down in the second quarter of the year, and they continue to decline year on year. In fact, the top bellwether companies, their total headcount declined by about 16,000. The workforce declined about 16,000 in the second quarter of this financial year. They're not hiring. In fact, they continue to fire, and that is depressing a lot of IIT students at this point.
Now, I'm going to help depress other people and not IIT students, because somehow the picture is not as murky as we make it out to be, because as far as the median CTC is concerned, the cost to company at which hiring is concerned for financial year 2024, it's at 20 lakh rupees versus 22 lakhs in FY23 and 19 lakhs in FY22. The highest overseas package offered this year for an IIT pass out is 3 crore rupees. We're talking about graduates' first job after IIT at 3 crore rupees, up from 2 crore rupees in the previous year. The highest pay packet, for example, for somebody passing out of IIT has just gone up 1/3, has gone up by 1 crore. So in that sense, everybody thinking that, oh my God, what is happening with IIT? The clear trend that, like you were talking about, yes, there is a slowdown in hiring in IT. In IT and IT related services and IT consulting services. But what has happened to compensate is that there has been a rise in hiring for R&D and core sectors and other sectors.
As opposed to your engineering, traditional IT sectors.
Right. No, we're talking about IT as an information technology. That is one branch of engineering.
Absolutely.
There is, also it's the most overwhelming branch of engineering in the country. Let's face it. I mean, you have in engineering, for example, Shweta, there is IT, there's IT software, IT hardware, there is EEE, there is mechanical engineering, civil engineering, there's tons of it. Of course, we've seen India as a whole take to it like a religion in the last 3-4 decades of IT engineering. But what is happening, if you're noticing over the last decade or so, there is a clear move away from the kind of blind applications for IT engineering. So what is heartening to see is that if more and more hiring is happening for R&D and other core sectors, that is a good sign that the IITs are
perhaps time to shift your branch.
Well, time to make sure you arrive at what you want to study based on one, your own interest and how well you're going to be doing in it, and second is also try to see what the market conditions are. But I would rather say to all those watching this broadcast, don't worry about market conditions. Always pick the engineering branch or the studies branch that you yourself find yourself enjoying studying it and find yourself and are able to see a future with it. Yes, the larger point that Shweta that you were talking about, I totally agree with it. There has been there's been a reduction in the headcount of IT companies. There's been a reduction in the hiring of IT companies, and that will affect not just IIT. That's going to affect engineering colleges across the country. IIT is just going to be a part of it. But what IIT has as an advantage is that it has all kinds of employers coming to the campus. And yes, there is questions of the next round. There's anxiety around the next round because the round so far has been less, and that's where the fear is. But as far as the paychecks coming the way of IIT students are concerned, well, they're all right there. The median is 20 lakhs. It can go all the way up to 3 crore rupees. So that's something to bear in mind as we are wondering how much of a problem is placement at IITs in the country.
Absolutely. And not to play the devil's advocate, but here's what students are saying, that the salaries that they're being offered has remained in fact constant in the past couple of years, has not accounted for inflation, which is about 4 to 6% currently at the moment. And essentially, when you look at these pay packages, you're looking at the upper bracket, 2 crores, 1 crores, and believing or hoping that everybody gets the same. same. But these are some very outstanding students who managed to get that pay package of 1 CR and above. On an average, 20 lakh has been the median for a couple of years now, and that is concerning the IIT students because, as I mentioned, these are some of the most brainiest people in the country. But to add to that, there has been a shift in traditionally what were the jobs that IIT students or students who are coming out of engineering colleges would get, because IT sector is also going a churning at this point, and a churning essentially means that some of your entry level jobs are going away. So R&D is the new emerging sector, but there are other, of course, emerging sectors on the back of the AI advancements that some of these IT companies are taking to at a very fast clip.
Right, they are, and like you're rightly pointing out, the topmost salary is not an indication of how well all students across IITs are doing. They rightly there's been a 10 to 15% dip. There's been a 10 to
15 to 30% dip, yes, for that matter,
in 2023. But you're looking at the last 3 years as the pandemic and post-pandemic recovery. So where there's been a problem across educational institutions, across sectors, across companies, everywhere. I mean, we're looking at, when the entire Infosys Narayana Murthy talk of 70-hour work week, and what the first question was that the entry-level salaries, forget IIT engineers, you're talking about the regular engineer salary, which hasn't gone, the starting salary of an engineer in the country, that hasn't gone up in 12 years. So, so in that sense, how can IIT be completely away from it? There has been an overall problem in terms of economy, macroeconomic fundamentals. We're still hoping for a recovery, hoping for a rate cut next year. We're still hoping for a full-on recovery.
The discretionary spending to kick in.
Yeah, all of it. You're looking at to be back to the kind of booming normalcy that we had before the pandemic. So fingers crossed that it happens to everybody and people at IIT as well.
Absolutely. So not just IITs, but engineering students taking a beating on the back of IT companies slowing down, and tech companies in general slowing down in hiring as far as financial year 2024 is concerned. But moving away to a story that's going to bother everybody who's looking to buy a new vehicle in 2024, from Audi to BMW, Maruti to Tata Motors, from your average passenger vehicle, small hatchback to a big luxury car, all of them will get expensive come 2024, Krishna. So those of you who are planning to buy a car, perhaps buy it this month itself.
Well, I mean, again, it's a cyclical thing. Usually happens post because they've cut down prices and given all kinds of offers to entice buyers during the festive period. And as the festive period runs its course, they'll be back to getting them back to prices where profitability is not a problem. So clearly, be it you want to buy a luxury car, a BMW or an Audi, you want to buy a Maruti Suzuki Wagon-R, the point here of doing this story is that to tell everybody that if you're planning to buy a car, buy it at the earliest, because at least by 2 to 3% the prices are set to go up by next year.
Absolutely. So it's going to happen across all the cars. One planning to buy a car must do that today or now. But also remember, this comes on the back of the rising input cost. Rising input cost is essentially not just a cyclical phenomena, but also is happening on the back of higher and longer interest rates across all countries.
Right.
So that is something that is hurting the input cost for many of these car makers, and they are likely to pass it down to consumers come 2024. All your cars are going to get more and more expensive. But before we wind up, a very interesting story coming in by the way of what is trending and what did Indians search the most in 2023. So be it Chandrayaan, G20, Kiara Advani, Jawan, these, of course, were the top trending words. My colleague Udisha Shrivastava joining us here in the studio. Udisha, a very good morning. People searching from an economic phenomena to an event to our space exploration. Those words are and were the most searched keywords of 2023 on Google.
That's right. So while we are in the month of December, it's time to look back in what we did and what we did in our search engines. So Google has released this year in search list, and it's a 2023 edition. So here they are telling us what Indians actually searched in this year. Now let's talk first about the news events that Indians searched. Now the category of news events, it is topped by the keyword Chandrayaan 3. So India actually made a historic win when it landed Chandrayaan 3 on the lunar on the moon, and this mission it attracted attention of Indians as well as people around the globe, and it topped the list of the news events searched by Indians. Number 2 is Karnataka State Assembly elections. Now it's very surprising because these are not national elections, not Lok Sabha elections, but these are state assembly elections that caught the attention of people. And third is definitely the news relating to Israel and Hamas war. Next up, what are the events that we searched that featured in the what is list? Now, first in the what is list is the G20. So what is G20? People had a lot of curiosity to know about what is G20. So G20 has a rotating presidency, and this year 2023 India held the presidency of G20. So people were definitely interested in what is G20. Number 2 is what is UCC. People wanted to know what is Uniform Civil Code and the implications of it and everything. Third is what is ChatGPT. Now ChatGPT and Sam Altman, we talked about these two things and the person all through this year, and towards the year end the traction of this keyword definitely increased. Now, the celebrities that we searched in 2023. First is Kiara Advani. Now, to my mind, 2 possible reasons could be. First, her marriage this year in February. Number 2 could be the release of her movie Satyaprem Ki Katha. That could be the probable reasons. Then Shubman Gill. He's a cricketer, and because we had the matches and the final World Cup this year, so definitely this could be one of the reasons why he was searched. And Rachin Ravindra. He is the cricketer from the New Zealand's cricket team. So probably some other reasons that he was searched in the India.
I think the name got the curiosity.
Well, absolutely, because there was this whole story about how Rachin is actually Rahul plus Sachin, as in Rahul Dravid plus Sachin Tendulkar or something like that. And then they eventually denied it, saying it's got nothing to do with Rahul Dravid Sachin, just a name called Rachin Ravindra. And I think a lot of Indians were extremely happy that such a very Indian name and a very Indian, it's a full Indian family that we're talking about. So there's an Indian family settled in New Zealand, coming to play for New Zealand as an all-rounder and seen as the next star of the New Zealand cricket team, and as if India is not creating stars within the Indian cricket team. Indians now going on to become the hope for other cricket teams. My curiosity levels were up, not just the rest, I would say.
Correct. So because a person has roots in India, probably people are searching it now. Now, what are the 3 searches in movies? Now, these are some of the recent movies we are talking about. Jawan topped the list of movies that people search. Jawan is a Shah Rukh Khan starrer. Gadar 2, Sunny Deol, we saw comeback of Sunny Deol and also Amisha Patel here. And Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer definitely was running at box office and all of it. Now, the near me category, very interesting. Coding classes, and I'm thinking that children are searching this or their parents are searching this for the coding classes near me. Then because the climate is worsening and we have increasing instances of earthquake all the time, so people definitely in India searched earthquake near me and Zudio near me. I was one of the persons who searched Zudio near me because I wanted to buy some office wear. So these are the top 3 searches we have in these lists, and also some memes also. Okay. So very interesting memes. So for example, the Bhupender Jogi meme, it featured the top on the list, and looking like a wow meme. Very interesting memes we had in the list as well.
Okay, what a year it has been, Krishna.
I would have guessed the Moe Moe memes would
Absolutely. Krishna is on track to what is trending in India. But those, of course, were the top trends as far as 2023 is concerned. Kiara Advani, the most searched celebrity, G20, most searched event, Chandrayaan 3, of course, getting people's attention like never before. And Jawan was the most searched movie. And with that, we are possibly wrapping up 2023 as well as this year. Keep watching News 9.
I recently received a friend request from Mahira Sharma. Now, we seem to have a lot of friends in common on social media, particularly from the military veterans community. But something about her didn't quite add up. So we decided to investigate. Now, honey traps as an espionage tool are nothing new. They've been around for centuries. But Pakistan's ISI, their spy agency, has been perfecting honey traps in the virtual space. Our story takes you inside Pakistan's honey trap machine.
Mahira Sharma, a young, good-looking woman in her 20s. Her Facebook profile said she was a clerk in a nationalized bank in Pune. Our editor's profile picture had an Air Force aircraft. He had several former military officers in his friends list. Mahira Sharma had 62 friends, all of them male